All right, so today we're jumping into a book that's, well, it's way more than just a story. It's a look at how stories themselves are this fundamental, life-giving force, a survival tool that gets passed down through generations, even when things get unimaginably tough. The book is The Faithful Gardener, a wise tale about that which can never die, by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estés. And that subtitle, that's everything. It perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to explore, this idea of what can possibly endure when everything else is gone. Now, what makes this book so fascinating is how it's built. Estes uses this incredible metaphor of matryoshka dolls, the classic Russian nesting dolls. Each story you encounter opens up to reveal another, smaller, and even more essential story tucked away inside. So, you know what? That's exactly how we're going to tackle this. We're going to open up these nested dolls together, one by one, starting from the very outside and working our way to the absolute heart of the matter to really get how stories are passed on.
And this structure, this matryoshka storytelling, it isn't just some clever literary trick. It's the whole message. The very way the stories are held inside each other shows us what it means to protect and pass on something precious, something vital, through time.
So let's start peeling back these layers. Right at the very center, the tiniest, most protected doll. That's the core story, the one called That Which Can Never Die. And that tiny story is held safe by the next doll out, the tale of the author's uncle, a man who literally carried this truth with him all the way from the old country. And his story, in turn, is protecting the memory of an old farmer from his homeland, a man he just calls this man. And the biggest doll, the outermost one that holds them all together, that's the foundational myth of why stories even exist in the first place. It's the origin that gives meaning to the whole shebang. You can see how perfectly they fit, each one a protector for the one inside. Okay, so let's zoom in on that second doll, the storyteller himself, the author's uncle. He is the absolute crucial link in this chain, the person who physically carried this story right through the fires of history. And when I say he went through a lot, I mean his life was one of almost unbelievable hardship. He was a Hungarian peasant farmer, he survived World War II, was forced into slave labor camps, became a refugee, ripped away from his home, and finally he made his way to America in the dark of steerage. This was a man who had seen the absolute worst of humanity. And this right here, this just brilliantly illustrates the whole point. In spite of all that trauma, all the wars crackling inside him, he built this little sanctuary inside himself, a safe place near his heart where he kept the story alive. It wasn't just a memory, it was his shelter. So you gotta be wondering, right? What was this incredible story that he protected so fiercely? Let's open the next doll and take a look at the tale of this man, the actual seed of the story that the uncle carried with him all that way. The core memory he held on to, it wasn't some grand historical epic. No, it was something small, something specific, and something deeply personal. It was the tale of another farmer, an old man from his village back in Hungary. And the story is just one of simple, profound courage. This farmer stood up to a destructive, marauding army to protect a small grove of young, precious trees. He was literally defending life against a tidal wave of death. That simple act, that's the seed of hope the uncle carried. But this brings us to an even deeper question. Why? Why are stories so powerful? To get that, we have to open the final, innermost doll, the book's beautiful, foundational myth about why stories exist at all. Look, to really get it, we have to understand where all this power comes from. According to this tradition, storytelling isn't just something humans made up for fun. It's actually woven into the fabric of creation itself. And the book's creation myth is it's amazing. It starts with God, kind of lonely, in this void that was dark because it was just packed too tightly with all these formless stories. So God creates light to separate them, then creates nature, the trees, the stars, the animals, so there could be stories about them. But God was still lonely. So what was the final step? Creating human beings, not just to take care of the world, but specifically to tell the stories. That's our job. We are the designated storytellers. Okay, so let's step back and start putting these dolls back together, because when you see how they all connect, from the creation myth all the way to the uncle's journey, you start to feel the incredible power of a shared story. You see what it really wants to pass on, that which can never die.
So here's the big takeaway, the heart of it all. Stories are elemental. They are part of our purpose. They are a life-giving force, as essential as light and water. And our role in all of this is to be their faithful gardeners, their caretakers.
And this quote, wow, it just nails the idea of hope perfectly. A story is like a seed. It can survive the most brutal conditions, the most barren ground, those empty places left behind by trauma and loss, and that's actually where it can root the deepest and grow into something brand new. And there you have it. You see the thread, right? It runs from the very purpose of creation to a farmer protecting a few trees to an uncle carrying that memory across a devastated world. The whole thing is proof that this life force can and will survive anything. And that leaves us with a final thought, and this one's for you. This isn't just about a book, it's a mirror. It's asking us to think about the seeds that we carry inside ourselves. So the real question is, what stories are you the faithful gardener of? What stories do you carry that can never die?